Walk with me through the halls of the Comic Kingdom. The Black Panther of the Golden Age. Marvel's Black Panther debuted in 1966 as a supporting character for the Fantastic Four. Within 2 years, he became a member of the Avengers team. 5 years after that, in 1973, he got his own starring feature with the series Jungle Action. Ultimately, he would have his own self-titled series, albeit short-lived. His popularity was extremely slow to catch on, but Marvel kept trying with him for decades. What really made Marvel's Black Panther a huge character was the live-action film in 2018. But this video isn't about that guy. I'll talk more about him later. 25 years before Marvel's Black Panther even started, there was another Black Panther during the golden age of comics. And this one couldn't have been more different. He also didn't enjoy any of the popularity that the Marvel version would receive, even during the fledgling years of the 1960s. Paul Gustafson. I enjoy Golden Age comics, and some people just stand out to me. Paul Gustafson is one of them. He was an artist and writer who, I think, just had it. His art was great, and his stories were action-packed. Paul created tough, no-nonsense heroes. He could have easily written for action movies. Paul created his Black Panther in 1941 for the comic book Stars and Stripes Comics No. 3, cover dated for July from the Centaur publisher. Keep July in mind, as that will play out to be a little bit more significant later on in the video. The biggest surprise to you may be the fact that his Black Panther is a white guy in a goofy black cat costume. The Golden Age Black Panther. Paul rarely created characters that fell flat after one appearance. He had done some awesome heroes earlier with the Arrow and the Phantom of the Fair that went on to have their own series, something that was really unusual in the earliest years of the Golden Age. Black Panther bombed though, and it wasn't entirely warranted. For one thing, he was little more than a Batman ripoff. There was no Robin or sophisticated gadgetry, but he was a dark vigilante who went after the criminal underworld. For another thing, the Black Panther's costume was silly as all get out. Back in the Golden Age, a lot of the toughest superheroes ever created were given some girly looking costumes. Way too much exposed skin. This Black Panther's costume looks like something the chick would wear at a Halloween party. It was a skimpy black number with clawed gloves and boots, complete with tail and, in the splash panel, a cape. And don't forget his kitty mask with pointed ears. The Black Panther is a manly man, but unless he's actively kicking your butt, it's hard to take him seriously. Since the Golden Age Black Panther made only one appearance, we don't know much about him. Back then, it was not an uncommon practice to throw out a character and, if he took, give him an origin story later on. We don't know his real name or his motivation. In this story, he doesn't display any superpowers. He's simply a costumed crime fighter. He's a competent crime fighter, but this story could have been for any character. He might as well have been the Green Amoeba. His first and only adventure. A benevolent scientist named Professor Taft creates a formula that can petrify any living animal on Earth, but with an antidote can be brought out of it. He is promptly kidnapped by the grotesque Argo, servant of the evil spy, Eric Rogatz. Eric Rogatz works for an unnamed country that is almost certainly Germany. When this comic was published, America was not yet in World War II, but it was looming. Germany had a reputation that preceded it, but Centaur, and other publishers at the time, tended to avoid calling out Germany by name in pre-World War II stories. It just wasn't a polite thing to do, and a lot of people still hoped things would blow over. It didn't. Of course, Rogatz wants to use the scientist formula for evil purposes. When he can't figure out how to use it, he attempts to torture the professor. That's when the Black Panther leaps into the picture and starts beating him up, and Argo too. Apparently, the Black Panther was an established superhero who everyone knew on sight. We can assume then that smashing spies is what Black Panther did. Argo was accidentally injected with the petrifying serum. Rogatz flees from Black Panther. He tries to climb down the castle wall when, oopsie daisy, he loses his grip and falls into the quicksand mire below. Well, it's not the first time Rogatz lost his grip. Rogatz dies, and in the last panel, Black Panther reveals that he would have taken the spy to jail. A lot of Paul Gustafson's characters didn't shy away from killing bad guys when they had to. So it was obvious he was going for a nicer guy. All of this happens in the space of 7 pages. Where this saga could have gone. I don't know if Paul Gustafson gave up on the character or if Centaur did. At any rate, it didn't spark enough interest from anyone to continue. It could, however, have been salvaged. The Golden Age Black Panther didn't totally deserve to flop. First of all, he needed a better costume by the second story. They didn't even need to explain the change, just do it. I think we can all agree that the costume of Marvel's Black Panther has it all over this one. Second, he saves the brilliant Professor Taft in this story. It could have been written that Taft was now the Black Panther's assistant in crime fighting. He could have developed all kinds of different chemicals and things. Like gloves that sprayed knockout gas. Wink wink. In a second or possible third story, the writer could have given us some kind of origin to the Black Panther. Why does he go by that name? Was he an actual cat person with cat-like abilities? Was he raised by Black Panthers? Also, what was his real name? Is Black Panthering all this guy does? Or did he have a job? Maybe he was independently wealthy. Or a fugitive on the run. The good things. The Golden Age Black Panther can be viewed as a weak superhero attempt, but seriously, there were some good things about him in his one comic adventure. The Black Panther is a cool name. It's hard not to be interested when you hear it. Black Panther sounds awesome. It's not exactly the amazing aardvark. The art was good in the story. A lot of Golden Age art was weaker than this. The writing was brisk and interesting. Paul Gustafson had a knack for not writing over the readers' heads, and I absolutely mean that in the best way possible. He didn't try to baffle us with bull squirt. I know that, given time, he could have fleshed out this character and made him better. As with any character Paul created for any publisher, his Black Panther wasn't a wimp. The character did what he had to do, but he wasn't a bloodthirsty madman. There was no inner conflict with him. I love Spider-Man and Batman, but especially in recent decades, that whole gray area thing has gotten tired. If a bad guy needs to die, he needs to die, and that's all there is to it. The Black Panther didn't pussyfoot around. Ha! Marvel's Black Panther. And who created him? The Black Panther everyone knows better today debuted 25 years later, to the month, in Fantastic Four number 52, cover dated July 1966. He made a handful of comic appearances over the next few years. but joined the Avengers team in Avengers number 52, cover dated May 1968. His first starring feature, in Jungle Action number 5, was cover dated July 1973. Up to this time, it seems the month of July and the number 52 were quite significant for the character. It's all coincidental, but it's amusing nonetheless. His first regular, self-titled series was cover dated for January of 1977, breaking the tradition of his milestones in a big way. Maybe that's why it flopped. Ha! However, his second series, a 4-issue miniseries, started in July 1988. I think people started to really notice the character after this. Even at that, in my mind, he seemed like a third-tier character of popularity for Marvel. I liked the character, but he always seemed to be a supporting character for the Avengers, or limited to obscure solo stories and other comic books that weren't his own. His first really big run as a solo star, however, came with Black Panther Volume 3, and that debuted with a cover date of November in 1998. Well, I can't explain that at all. The character was reinvented and became a hit, lasting 62 issues through 2003. This would be the longest run he ever had with a solo title. Black Panther has since had volumes 4 through 9, with none of them lasting as long as volume 3. The significance is that, since volume 3 hit, we have never gone that long without some kind of Black Panther title out on the market. The extreme popularity of the 2018 film has done little to make the Black Panther a stronger presence in comics than he already was. But I do think it will always ensure him some comic book attention, as long as Marvel is still making comics. But who created the wildly popular Black Panther for Marvel? Stan Lee and Jack Kirby both declare sole credit for the creation of the character. It's generally accepted that Jack Kirby created his version of Black Panther, and between the two men, Kirby has the more convincing argument. Do I think Marvel's Black Panther borrowed from Centaur's Black Panther? Not even a little bit. The Golden Age Black Panther was so obscure at the time that I doubt it came across the attention of either Lee or Kirby. Even if Kirby saw the name of the old character somewhere, it doesn't even matter, because his Black Panther was so different that it truly is an original character. Centaur's Black Panther, though, is an interesting curiosity. He is one of the lesser-known works of Paul Gustafson, who I consider a standout in Golden Age comics, and deserves to be talked about on that point alone. He's certainly going to be found peculiar by fans of Marvel's Black Panther, and although the Golden Age Black Panther is not a king, like Marvel's creation, he's earned his place in the Comic Kingdom.